Good morning, happy Thursday. So it's 10:30, it is Thursday and we are back together again for our coffee chat. So, how is everyone doing today? I hope you're good. Another glorious day. These days are beautiful and never ending. I love them. Definitely going to try and get some sunshine later. So today I'm incorporating the Walk the Talk series. So for the last few days I've been sharing with you a concept, an idea, a value, something which I don't want to say teach, something that we discuss through my coaching programs. And I have also shared how I use those in my life and how I apply those things to what I do, because it's all very well known what the concepts are and having a good understanding of what they mean, but actually hearing somebody describe how they apply them into their business, I think, and their lives, quite honestly, it goes beyond just the business. That makes it real, that makes it a little bit more relatable. So I'm incorporating one of those in today's coffee chat. So I have no coffee, I have nothing. I hope you have a drink. You can kick back for a few minutes and just kind of stay with me. I've already had a bit of a manic morning and my children are desperate to go out and play, but my youngest is fighting about having his sun cream on. So yeah, that's all going on in the background while I chat to you. If you are watching me, please say hello. It's much nicer to talk to somebody rather than to talk to myself. If you're watching on the replay as well, tell me you've watched on the replay. If there's any questions that come up as I'm talking, if there's any observations, something which you go, yeah, I totally get that, then please share, because I read all the comments, and if you ask a question, then I'll reply. So please use this as much as you need to. So goals we're talking about today. Goal setting and goal tracking. And goals can have lots of different connotations for different people. They can mean something which sort of made you feel a bit oof, and oh no, it's that time of year again in a work context where your performance would be reviewed and you would have to give a load of evidence around how you've met your goals. Some people absolutely love them and seem to really sort of naturally fall into that category of, yeah, this comes easily to me in terms of writing their achievements and things. And you know, it doesn't matter where you are on that scale. Once you step out of that employee environment, it's different when you're talking about goals that you're setting for yourself. And when they are just for you and they're for your business, they can be a really powerful tool. So I absolutely am an advocate of goals. I think goals used in the right way can be hugely motivating. They can maintain that motivation when some days you're a little bit like, actually, I'm not feeling it today. They can also mean that you retain your focus, because it's really easy, particularly early days, to get distracted and pulled from one thing to another. So having a goal allows you to have defined the thing that you're working on to achieve your bigger ultimate vision. And if you're not working on something which goes towards one of those goals, you could just kind of check in and say, well, why am I doing it then? You know, what is it adding? Am I doing it because it's fun? Am I doing it because I'm procrastinating? Am I doing it because I'm not addressing something else? So they really allow you to sort of tie your efforts back in to working towards that bigger piece. So yeah, well, let's talk about firstly, from my perspective, where goals sort of are sat in my life, because I think it's interesting how my relationship with that word and the process of setting goals has really changed. So when I was an employee, I very much lived in an environment which was almost sales. It was more account management and relationship management, but we had a very clear relationship between achieve X, do X, achieve Y. So not quite sort of sales commission-y, but hit these certain points and you would achieve these certain things. But they were quite soft measures, so we defined our own goals, and every year you'd go through this big exercise of, right, you need to create these goals and then we'll monitor them through the year. And I've done this for years and years. So I got quite smart at being able to say, well, I totally know that I'm already well on my way to achieving that thing, so I'll just push it a little bit further, and that's what I'll put as my goal. I don't think I ever really put something that genuinely stretched me or gave me something to really work at. I really don't think I did, but I was also one of those people that didn't mind writing up all the stuff about what I'd done. And I think that was almost a false goal, and it didn't really serve me. So I got my satisfaction much more in my role then from seeing people I'd helped and bringing my team on and developing them, and then getting the customer feedback as well, and them knowing that I'd performed a good job from their perspective as well. It wasn't the goals that really did it for me. So when I came out of that environment and I started to work with a coach myself, they again were very much big on goals and let's create your goals, let's create your vision, and let's create your goals. And it was a tough translation for me, because that word of course had that previous connotation, and actually working towards something which then was for me but was still defined as a goal needed a little bit of rewiring in my mind. And I think when you work in that environment for so long, it is pretty hardwired in you, and I just thought, oh, I'll write these goals for myself and I'll just sort of forget them, they'll go in a drawer somewhere. But as time's gone on, I've learned to use goals to my advantage, and to use them to really push me on and keep me focused, as I said at the beginning. So when you think about setting a goal, and this is a big piece of how I talk to my clients about goal setting, you have to start really big. You have to start so big that the picture possibly even is still a little bit blurry. And I like this analogy of, it's there's a view, there's something on the other side of a piece of water, so a river or something that you're going to cross, and actually you can see something on the other side, almost on the horizon, and it's a little bit blurry. So that is your vision. But as time goes on, you add detail to it, and you add the concepts of, well, what does that look like? Am I looking at a house? Am I looking at me in a different sense? Do I look different? How do I feel? Is it that it represents something with my family? You know, whatever that vision is that's way in the future, your goals are the stepping stones that get you across that piece of water towards your ultimate vision. And of course, every time you take a step, you can see a few more steps ahead of you. So rather than when someone sits down to write a goal, rather than sitting thinking, okay, so how do I get all the way from where I am standing right now, who I am, how I feel, what I have, what my business looks like, what my idea looks like, all of those things, rather than standing here now and then going, right, how on earth do I get all the way over there? That's too big a step. You know, you wouldn't just suddenly wake up one morning and say, okay, I'm going to run a marathon, so today I'll go out and I'll give it my best shot, but I'll go out and I'll run 26 miles. You don't do that. You break it down into steps towards that. And goals should be exactly that. So each stepping stone should be a goal. Now, it might be that you're working on 2, maybe 3 at any one time. So actually you've then got kind of bigger platform, but actually some of them are going to get you further forward than the others. Then once you work through those to the point of being comfortable with them, you then are setting your next ones and your next ones and your next ones. And of course, all the time you're getting closer to that vision and you're building the detail into that picture. So it's really about starting with that big vision. Now, you might not know what that is to any level of detail initially. You might just be able to make it a financial, so making it ultimately I'd love to have this much money in the bank, or this much money on a monthly basis to be able to spend on this and this. And then as time goes on, you add detail to that, because this is crucial, that actually setting goals shouldn't be a single event. It should be an ongoing process. And when you look at your goals and reviewing your goals, if you then look at your vision, you're probably moulding that a little bit more. You might be totally changing it from what you thought you were working towards to something else by the end of it. But ultimately, you're reviewing it. You know, that's the important thing. You're taking yourself through those steps to review it. So in terms of setting a goal and setting goals that are meaningful for you, they have to come from you. And there's lots of ways and tools that you can use. There's things that you can use technically to put your goals in the track. But again, I don't want anyone to use this as I'll just spend ages working on my goals and I'm not moving myself forward. I don't want them to ever become a procrastination thing or I'll do that instead of doing this big thing that I've been putting off. It needs to be something which is quick, easy, and it suits you. So the way that I really like is the SMART goal concept. So SMART is an acronym and it stands for 5 different things. So the first one is specific. Now, if you made it a huge goal and you said, I'm going to get lots of customers over the next 6 months, that's not specific enough. It's not measurable because you're being too broad. Lots, what does lots mean? Lots to some people is 1 million. Lots to others would mean 5. So you need to make it specific. So if in your ultimate aim you can put, I would like to deliver 50 of my product or service. I'd like to serve 50 people. So that's specific. The next one is measurable. So you add how do I know when I've served those 50? That one's pretty obvious because you would have recorded 50 this. But what if you sold more than one product to the same person? Is that, are you gonna count that, or does that have to be to those 50 people? The next one is achievable. So again, this is a real toughie because I always want the vision to be something which is stretching, and slipping into my previous treatment of goals, I would have always made sure that the thing was achievable. But actually it's about knowing that it's sort of within your gift. So I couldn't write a goal that said, I want to be queen in the next year. That's just unfeasible, isn't it? Or I want to turn back time and be 25 again. That's just not achievable. So it needs to be enough that you're going to be stretched, but not to the realms of ridiculous, because you will literally just switch off. Your brain will switch off to that. You'll look at it and go, well, I'm never going to do that, so I might as well just give up. So it needs to be achievable. And don't forget, we are looking at this as the first step, because your next step's going to take you further, then the next one, then the next one. So that's achievable. So then the R is the next one, is relevant. So it has to be relevant to your ultimate goal. So if I said to myself, I am going to learn to speak Spanish in the next 3 months. Okay, so it's only relevant to me and my business if I want to serve the Spanish market. It's not relevant otherwise. It's probably just a fun thing that I'm going to choose to do. So unless it's relevant, again, you'll look at it and you'll go, oh, I need to work on that thing to learn Spanish, but I don't really see how that fits in. So you won't do it. It's different if you want to have a personal goal, and I like having personal goals. Periodically, I would say I wouldn't always have them as something I work on, but there are times when I want to do some self-development and I want to sort of take myself further, so they're perhaps slightly different to a business goal, but they need to be relatable to your business in some way, you or your business, and the way that you're moving yourself forward. It could be that it's a health goal, because actually you're finding that your business is draining you and you're feeling a little bit deflated by it, you're losing your energy levels. So actually a health goal is perfectly relatable, because looking after yourself is looking after your business, because you are one and the same when you work for yourself. And then the final one is time bound. So again, taking all the others into consideration, if you ensure that it's time bound, you're giving yourself that measure to say, I need to check in on this again and to see where I am with it at this point in time. So this is the one where you can almost say, right, so what is achievable? So is 50 clients within 3 months achievable? Is 50 within a year achievable? And what's stretching enough that is going to push me? Like, you haven't got 49 already and you're about to add your 1. That would have been old me. So, how do they break down? So once you've got them, you've put them all into those categories. which look a bit disjointed at first. So you've added something against the specific, measurable, achievable, can you tell I've written them down, relevant and time bound. As long as you've got something against each one, you can make that into a single sentence. So it's a short sentence that reads as though you've got every element within it. And the beauty of that is that you've now got this goal. It's got some numbers in it, probably, because it has to be measurable and specific. It states a time frame, so it might say by the end of August, by September. When you've got that sentence, the best way of getting this really ingrained in you in terms of you're working towards it, remind yourself why you're doing this stuff, is to put it somewhere. Not just once, put it in different places. Because even if you're not consciously reading it and thinking about it, if your goal is, it might be handwritten on a post-it note, if it's written out in different places around your world, you'll subconsciously be reading it. And while you're subconsciously considering it, your solution, subconscious, is starting to work on, yeah, actually, I've just thought of that thing that, and it's amazing how actually you can then enlist that subconscious brain. So rather than sitting down and being really super focused, say, okay, I'm going to clear everything away from my desk, and right now I'm working on my goal. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to work on my goal. That has some benefits, of course it does, but that's a very action-taking process. You can equally be working on your goal while you're walking the dog, while you're making the dinner, while you're doing something which is unrelated. You're enlisting, if you've reminded yourself of your goal, you're enlisting that subconscious, and that is now coming up with different steps and different solutions. And actually, when they're not forced like that, you can often come up with things that your conscious mind would never have sort of allowed you to see. And it's amazing what can come up. So for me, I like the fresh air, I like being outside. I have 2 dogs, 2 children. Life is pretty chaotic, as you can imagine, in our house at the moment. And I did used to run, but I'm finding that both the weather being so warm and also us being so hemmed in, I've enjoyed walking more than running. And it just gives me a little bit longer, so I can go out for an hour without the stress in my brain of constantly wanting to stop running and go home. And I can think and I can have a little bit of time. It's a little bit more peaceful. I know I'm not going to get interrupted, and I can just sort of think. And it's amazing then, once I walk through the door, I have a notebook near the front door, and there's always something that I want to write down that's occurred to me while I've been out. It might be a tiny thing, it might be an idea for a live, it might be a bit of content I've thought about, but there's always something, because I'm sort of letting the thoughts just come. There are times when I can come and sit down and say, right, let's review progress against goals, what else do I need to be doing? And it's just like tumbleweed, because I'm forcing it, and then it gets difficult, and you know, that's never going to work. It feels tiring. So from a coaching perspective, I've pretty much talked you through how I coach it, but for me, how do I apply it? So I do keep a set of goals. I wouldn't say they're everywhere around the house necessarily, but I do look at them because I monitor them, and I put my my sort of tracking into it. Now, I'm not a massive fan of paper. I prefer to have things online, and then I can look at them on my phone or on the laptop or wherever I am. So I keep a really simple, just like a single sheet in Google Sheets that allows me to say, okay, so these are my current goals. And then I just put a little tiny bit of narrative against each one. So it might be that I'm looking at, I want to have produced a new programme by this point in time. So I would just every now and again have a quick check. Yeah, have I worked on that? Am I happy with where I am? Does it feel like I'm on track in terms of my timing? And then if there are still things I need to do to get myself closer to that point, I'll just make a note of those. So you can see that it's like a funnel or a sieve, a filter almost. So you start at the top. I really wish I had a drink now. You start at the top with your huge rock, your big vision. Then the next layer are your goals, they're your stepping stones. And then beneath that, so what falls out of the stepping stone level, your goals level, are your specific actions. So they're the things that say, I need to go and find out somebody who can help me with that thing. I need to talk to so-and-so who I know has done that before, and I can get some gen on what they did and how I can do it. It might be I need to go and build this. I need to set up this. These are the specifics that fall off the back of it. And doing those are what get you, of course, closer to achieving your goal. So you've got to do both. You've got to set that goal, but then do the actions. And that is really where the beauty lies. If you start at the action level, so you sit down, you go, right, I'm going to be much more organised than I have. I'm going to have a specific place. I'm going to put an actions list. I'm going to bash all these actions out. Who's to say that they are relevant actions? Who's to say that that's not your subconscious and your ego saying, yeah, but you need to do all these things before you can do that thing, because it's holding you back. If you've done it the other way round, you've created actions from your goal, so you know that it is working towards it. You're not doing a whole load of stuff that is just distracting you from the ultimate. You're not doing stuff that your brain's convinced you need to learn, that you need to develop, and you need to research, you need to do training courses, you need to this, you need to be qualified in this. It's not doing all those things that actually you don't need, but your brain's saying, yeah, but you need to do all of these things before you're going to be able to do that. You're doing the things that actually are formed from the goal in the first place. So for me, yes, I do have goals. I like goals because I like actions, but I always want my actions to be purposeful. So my time at the moment, as I'm sure anyone who's got their children at home will relate to, is really limited in terms of my work time. I don't get hours on end like I used to when they were at school to just sit and work. So I have to use the time that I have to work in a really focused way. So rather than being distracted by, oh, that looks interesting, I think I'll go and read that, I have to be really focused on, is that towards my goal? And having this process in place to be able to say, well, that goal needs that action, that goal needs that action, allows me to have that focus and maintain it. So I absolutely advocate them. I live them. I kind of form the basis of what I do from them. And I absolutely encourage people to find their own way that works for them. So for some, it might be a really complex spreadsheet. For others, it might be a page in your notebook, but it's a page that you might have a little sticky tab in so you can go back to it, but it's there and you can revisit it. It's whatever works for you, and I'm not sort of specific on, right, you need to have your goals set out like this. The SMART acronym is a really good way of making sure that your goals are going to be useful to you and you're not just creating a random sentence that is too fluffy. But if you've got things that nearly fit into there, it's not going to mean you're not going to achieve them or work towards them constructively. So there we go, that's goals. That is how I use them, that's how I coach them. If there are any questions, drop them into the comments. If you've got a different way that really works for you that you want to share, I'd love to hear, because there's lots of different ways out there that people have found that work really well for them. And particularly I've seen some great ways when people have set themselves health goals. So they might be weight loss goals, they want to tone up, and they've used quite visual pictures. So if perhaps they want to get back, I've seen one where they wanted to be able to wear their wedding dress again, so they took a picture of themselves now, picture of themselves in their wedding dress at the time. So actually your subconscious is combining the two to help maintain your motivation on that journey. So yeah, if you're a visual person, then there's all sorts of ways you can draw them. So yeah, please share. I will send this out. I'll do a quick write-up of it during today. I hope you are able to get out and enjoy a little bit of the sunshine safely, obviously. And I will see you next week for this chat, but I've got quite a few more of these to share each day. So I'll be back live with you tomorrow to share the next one, which I believe is procrastination. Yes, it's all the ways that we find to put ourselves off, which I thought falls really nicely off the back of today. So I will see you tomorrow for that one. Go and have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you all soon. See you later. Bye.